All right, so this timer doesn't work. It just kind of runs out of time and it doesn't ding or anything. That's unfortunate, so I apologize for the dead space. Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show. We just watched Bread from Acorns, which is actually a really fascinating look at tribal history and how food is prepared. The captions aren't great. They're a little cringeworthy, but the documentation itself is really amazing. And so we like that. So we're watching old 16mm films, and we got a bunch. So let's go ahead and start off with something that's on film. Which way do I turn? So you can see here, this is the telecine. Allows us to transfer 16mm film live. I had mentioned in the comments for this show that occasionally we get to see really nice Kodachrome, but most of what we have is faded Ektachrome or Eastman color. The reason for that is it was cheaper, or a filmmaker just didn't realize the difference. And these films were meant mostly for a limited time, so they were good for a period of time, and then they started fading. And it didn't matter for the filmmakers because, you know, the information was maybe obsolete or the format was obsolete, so they didn't. It's like a paperback novel or a newspaper. You know, newspaper uses the cheapest paper possible because they know that it's ephemeral. It's going to go away very soon, very quickly. So it's the same with film. And so what happens is the dyes begin to fade, and then you start getting that reddish magenta. Somebody asked about Fuji and Agfa color. Agfa color is weird when it fades. It actually fades to some strange, like super purple. So it's definitely the same situation. It's not quite as durable as Kodachrome. Fuji color I have very little experience with. You know, I don't know about early Fuji color if they had the same problems. But it's something that you deal with. And so this next film was faded red a little bit, so I was able to adjust the LEDs in the camera to bring some of that red down. So here is the day of the X2.
This is the story of the day of the X2. The setting? West Yellowstone, Montana. The 5th annual Snowmobile Roundup. Over 3,500 snowmobilers had come to ride the trails of Yellowstone and to watch the races of the North American Championships of Snowmobiling. Then came the morning of March 14th, 7 a.m. To many in the crowd that gathered, it was just an exciting event. The World Championship Drag Race. Their main question, would this be the day that the magic 100-mile-an-hour mark would be shattered? But to those of us at Polaris, it was the moment of truth, the culmination of a year's effort. Our main question, would this be the day of the X2? As the day began, it was apparent that we at Polaris shared two things with the other manufacturers. Anxiety for the day, born of months of hopes during the engineering and testing of these race machines, and curiosity for what the other guy had up his sleeve. For months, we'd all kept our designs under wraps. Now it was time to put them on the line. Time to see which of us might break the existing world speed record of 95.33 miles per hour. More than that, which of us might crack that 100-mile-an-hour mark? A lot of those early morning eyes were on Skidoo and its twin-engine Eagle, and on the current record holder, Duane Eck. The yellow colors of Skidoo could just taste that 100-mile mark, and so could the rest of us. Every major manufacturer was there. the black and purple of Arctic Cat with its fuel injection engine, a special machine with a Honda motorcycle engine, Mercury with a special machine with 3 megaphones extending out the right side of the engine compartment. And we were there too, with our X2. Believe me, a lot of those Polaris men in blue were much more nervous than their smiles suggest. They'd put in endless hours on the X2. Men like Mike Baker of Roseau, Minnesota, Bob Eastman, the head of our Polaris racing team, and the X2's main design engineer, Darrell Courtwright. The Polaris X2 got its name because it uses 2 795cc engines, a standard racing engine for Polaris. X2 means times 2, thus X2. Our goal in its design, to build a machine that would stay together with that kind of torque, but be light enough to set the world speed record in the high altitudes of Yellowstone. In an hour, we'd know if we'd succeeded, or if we'd have to wait until next year. Looks like that little fellow in the black and red of Rupp is wondering the same thing. Our prime driver, Mike Baker, had more than a little interest in the Skidoo Twin Eagle. There's no sense denying it. We wanted to beat Skidoo in the worst way. A lot of interest was saved for the sleek Sonic Challenger, a special jet-powered sled without a track, just 4 skis. It was reported to have gone 100 miles an hour in a practice run, but no one could testify it had really gone that fast. Before the day was out, they too would have their chance to prove their point and their machine. Everyone was really looking it over that gray Saturday morning as the colorful chutes were packed, then packed again, and again, and again. Guess you can't be too careful when you're as pretty as the sleek jet sled. Finally, word came to the staging area that the start time was near. The timing lights and judges were in place. Last-minute preparations, last-minute picture taking, last-minute advice, and a lot of last-minute butterflies. Record holder Eck checked his skis. He'd be the second man down the chute. As for the X2, every man in blue suddenly seemed to act like a nervous father. Check, recheck, move it into position, and then tell you what, let's check again. The crowd grew as expectant as we were. Even the governor of Montana was there. And here we go. A Frenchman from Quebec from the Skidoo factory team made the first run. His time in the early 90s. Eck's record still stood. Now the record holder himself took off on his first run. And disappointment. The 100-hour mark was still a dream, but not for long. Arctic Cat's turn. Marvin Odie. 102.5 miles an hour. A little edge was off the X2 team as they positioned it for its run. As they checked and rechecked again. Courtwright was ready, and the X2 took off. Down the half-mile course and through the speed traps it went. A new world's record, 104.52. But the day wasn't over. Mercury made its first run. Then Honda. And Eck tried again. The X2's record still stood, but Polaris wasn't satisfied with the time. Mike Baker's turn. Ready? Go. Baker makes his run. When Baker hit the lights, 109.90 miles an hour. Suddenly, the men in blue weren't blue at all. Even our sales manager had a big smile. But the happiness was short-lived. Skidoo sent an eagle down the track with a girl, Carol Delanio, driving. She went 102.62 for a new world's record for women, and quite a mark in itself. Polaris's answer? Find a woman to drive the X2. Let's go after that mark, too. Dorothy Mercer from Lake Tahoe, Nevada, looked a little skeptical as we first broached the subject, and then more than a little skeptical as she found herself on the start line. She'd never been on the X2 before, but she'd agreed to give it a go. Talk about advice. Everyone had some for Dorothy. Only the X2 didn't try to tell her how to do it. It must have sensed Dorothy would do her own thing quite well. Off they went. Time to wait again. And time to shout again. 107.01 miles per hour. Dorothy's skeptical look was now all smiles. She had the woman's record, and she could prove it. What a gal. But the day wasn't over. Everyone kept taking their shots at breaking our two records. Ek finally went 100.78, but it was not enough. The X2 made one more run and for the fourth time broke the 100-mile-an-hour mark, as Leroy Lindblad went in excess of 106 miles an hour. Now it was the jet sled's chance. Would the X2's mark go up in that cloud of jet stream smoke? No. The jet went 74 miles an hour. The last run had been made until next year, when we'd all be back trying to crack Mike Baker's 109.9. It had indeed been the day of the X2.
That's exciting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. I was just going to show you, let's see if I can rewind this a little bit. A picture of a person. All right, here's the people. All right, so this is with some slight correction taking place, and this is with it turned off. So you can see, it was red, pretty red, and then I pretty much adjusted the gamma, and then I brought down the gain. I have a little color, little trackball, so I kind of put it in place, then nudge the black levels a little bit so that they're in place, kind of. And so the skin tone's kind of purplish, but that's something that I would, if I had better tools,
A need can be defined as a lack of something necessary or desired. When a need is a lack of something necessary, we call it a physical need. For example, when we are hungry, we eat food. When we are hurt, we need relief from pain. Doctors sometimes use drugs to give relief from pain. They are trained to provide only enough to relieve pain. Doctors know the danger of an overdose. Some drugs, when not taken under medical care, can create a physical need themselves. This we call physical drug dependence. Without certain drugs, the drug user has a lack of something which has become necessary. When a need is a lack of something desired, we call this a psychological need. With a psychological need, we have learned to desire something.
That question can be answered by Einstein's formula, E equals mc squared.
For example, we learn to desire approval from our friends. We need approval. Often a person takes drugs illegally because of a psychological need to do what his friends are doing to avoid disapproval. It is this kind of a psychological need that leads to psychological drug dependence. The person learns to desire drugs. Most people find adequate ways to fill their needs, while others do not adjust as well. You have to decide what types of needs are most likely to lead to drug use, and based on your data, you must try to fill these needs.
So there's this little tiny speaker button, and sometimes I click it, and sometimes I miss it. And that's what happened. I accidentally clicked it. I'm hoping that you can hear me now. Anyways, I was saying, jokingly, like, okay, so now you want to know about drugs, and you want to know about it featuring cavemen. So this next film is called Drug Needs. This is a baffling series of films made by Lockheed. Oh, now it rings. Yeah, that's great. Made by Lockheed Aviation. And it's my guess, and I don't know this for sure, is that, Lockheed Aviation was in kind of this part of California where drugs were beginning to become an issue in the home. Either teenagers, young adults, or adults themselves were beginning to experiment with drugs, and that was causing issues in the workplace. And this was a way for managers to kind of deal with that, especially with workers who were on the assembly line who were high. So this is part of that. Now, why cavemen? I have no idea. Really no idea. It is so weird. It's like, it was around the time that Flintstones were popular, but why would you use that as a reason? It just doesn't make sense. And I have yet to find anybody that can answer that question for me. At some point, maybe I will, if I have the resources, I will go to Lockheed's archives or whoever has them now and really look and see how they mention this and how they write about this, because they spent a lot of money in this, and I'm sure that this was like a big managerial thing that they had to deal with. So it's just insane for me. It's really, really crazy. All right, this film is missing the beginning. It's called Good Citizens, and someone mentioned before I get started with the film. Someone mentioned that caffeine is a drug, and speaking of caffeine, you can buy us some coffee. That is one of the wonderful ways that we keep ourselves going amidst all the cables and the cans and the reels and the hard drives. Coffee just makes things a little bit better for us, just a little bit better. You can also buy DVDs at avgeeks.com, and you can tell the world that you like us by hitting like, subscribe. There's some notification bell icon you can hit, supposedly. And you can comment and share. Those are other ways to say, hey, to be good citizens in a social media world. Speaking of good citizens,
But what does it mean to be a good citizen? Are firemen good citizens? They work together and cooperate to protect our community from fire. Cooperation is part of being a good citizen. Is the policeman a good citizen? He helps to protect our safety in the community. Helping others is a part of good citizenship. Are postmen good citizens? The community depends on the postman for mail. Being dependable is part of good citizenship, too. Mother is a good citizen. She is responsible for helping her family in many ways. Children can show that they are good citizens, too. Let's find out what it really means to be a good citizen, at home and in the community. At school, we learn many things that help us to grow in good citizenship. We learn to read and write. We learn to do arithmetic. And we learn to get along with others. We learn to respect the flag. We show our respect and love for our country when we are courteous to the flag. Our flag stands for a free country, a country where every person is important. Our country depends on all good citizens for its strength and freedom. At school, we often work together. When we work in groups, cooperation is important. We cooperate by taking turns reading. We cooperate when we keep our eyes on our own book and listen. We learn by reading. We learn by listening. These good citizens are practicing cooperation in their reading group. Playing every day helps to keep our bodies strong and healthy. Being a good sport when we play is important. What does it mean to be a good sport? Taking turns, being courteous, playing safely? Of course, good sports do all of these things. Sometimes we play games together. Good sports follow the rules of the game and play fairly. Then everyone has a good time. Being a good sport is an important part of good citizenship. When it is time to paint, these good citizens take turns at the easels. Each one paints his own picture. There are many ways to paint a tree. Each tree picture is different because each person uses his own ideas. Often we learn by using our own ideas. At times we learn from other people's ideas. In a free country, many different ideas are important. Ideas that come from good thinking. Good thinking at school helps us all to be better citizens. A safe walk home from school is another sign of a good citizen. There are many ways we can practice good citizenship at home. Sometimes we bring home a surprise for everyone to enjoy. This way, we can show our family some of the things we learn in school. Often we can help Mother in the morning before we leave for school. When we work together, we learn how to do new things. The job gets done faster. Working together cheerfully can be a happy time for everyone. Sometimes we work alone. Parents do many things to help us. We can think of ways to help ourselves and others in our family. A dependable worker does a good job. Learning to be dependable is an important part of growing up. In many homes, each person is responsible for his own jobs. Being responsible means doing your work without being reminded. Playing alone is a wonderful time to try new ideas, to use your imagination. Using imagination means thinking how to do something in your own special way. Good citizens are kind to animals. When friendly animals visit your garden, treat them with kindness. Some of our happiest times are spent with friends and neighbors. When people are invited to your house, greet them and make them feel welcome. Grown-ups enjoy talking without being interrupted, just as you and your friends enjoy visiting without being interrupted. When you listen carefully to the rules that help you play safely, you are a welcome guest. Courtesy, friendliness, and safe play help everyone to have fun when we entertain guests in our home. In the community library, cooperation and dependability are important. Books bring us ideas. Different ideas are important in a free country. In a free country, you may choose the books you want to read. The librarian will help you find them. You are responsible for taking care of the books you choose. You show your respect for books when you handle them correctly and turn the pages carefully. When you take library books home, remember to return them on time. Then others can read and enjoy them too. Good citizens are quiet in the library. That way, everyone can read without being disturbed. Even before we learn to read, picture books tell us stories. We can find out about interesting things, faraway places, people of other lands. We can learn new things about our own country, a free country where every person is important, where every good citizen helps our country grow in liberty and justice, in responsibility and freedom.
Someone made a reference that books are for burning. That awesome song. Kind of makes me think like maybe I should show that. Somebody wanted to see a disco thing, and so maybe I'll show that after this next film. This is one of those wonderful Alcoa Calvin management films about how managers deal with women. I mean, this ultimately is what this is about. It's a manager trying to reconcile two women going at it. This is Bright Young Newcomer.
You know, sometimes I feel sorry for people who have to run an office setup, especially if it employs a number of girls. So darn many things can develop out of nothing. I've always thought it was good common sense to ignore petty situations. But then again, you never know. George Barnes, or G. Bennett Barnes as he signs his name, had the same idea. George runs the office end of the service department. This involves considerable correspondence, special records, and complicated systems of filing. 8 or 9 girls work for George, and Betty here is what you might call the leader of the group. I guess just about every office has someone like Betty. A little short on personality, maybe, but darned efficient. Fact is, she's been here almost as long as George. Many of the procedures and filing systems were set up by Betty in the first place. Well, to get along with my story, George hired a new girl.
Joan, it's good to have you with us. We hope you like it here.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. I'm sure I will.
It's not very often we have the opportunity to hire someone with your extensive background. I'm sure your college training, and particularly your past working experience in the service field, will be a big help to us.
Well, I certainly hope so.
You'll find we're a friendly group. Look around, get acquainted, see how we do things. Then who knows? With a fresh viewpoint, maybe you'll come up with some new ideas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Come in. Oh, Betty. This is Joan Thomas. She's replacing Sylvia. Joan, this is Betty McCormick.
How do you do, Joan? I'm glad to know you. Hello, Betty.
Betty, will you take Joan and show her around the office and introduce her to everyone, please?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Well, Joan proved to be an intelligent girl, quick to grasp things, full of sound ideas. A couple of weeks later...
Oh, Betty, do you have a minute?
What is it, Joan?
Well, I'm having an awful time checking anything in these guarantee files. It's all alphabetical, and there are millions of them. Takes forever to find any particular one.
Well, we haven't been having any trouble.
Well, the way they did it at Malco, Betty, saved a lot of time. There, we broke the guarantees down by cities, and then alphabetically. That way, when you wanted to check one, you could do it in a jiffy. Seems we could save a lot of time if we do it that way here.
But we've been getting by all right so far. I don't see much percentage in changing now.
Well, Mr. Barnes said... Well, I just thought it would save time for everyone. Especially me.
Well, I'm sorry we don't do things more to your way of thinking. Perhaps the Malco was better organized.
No, I didn't mean it that way, Betty. I just thought it would be easier for everyone if we would do it the other way.
That's how the situation first developed. A little friction between a competent old employee and an intelligent, experienced new one. Well, it wasn't long until...
Come in. Oh, good morning, Betty. How are things going?
Mr. Barnes, I've never had any trouble in the office as long as I've been here. I think you'll agree I've always gotten along with the other girls.
Certainly. What's the matter, Betty?
It's that new girl, Joan Thomas. Just because she's been to college and worked service in a couple of other places, she tries to lord it over everyone. Everything we do is inefficient. Now, she says, our guarantee filing system is no good. And I developed that system, Mr. Barnes, over 8 years ago, and it's worked. Now, all of a sudden, it's no good.
Well, this is probably my fault. I did say something to Joan about new ideas. Let her make suggestions. I'm sure it's nothing personal as far as you're concerned.
Even the other girls, even they're getting critical. And I spent years getting those files to where they are now.
Betty, you've done a good job. We all think a lot of you. We appreciate what you've done. I count on you to keep things rolling out there. I'll tell you what. I'll talk to her and... Now, don't worry. I'll talk to her. Barnes speaking.
George Barnes is an efficient, conscientious man. But he's also a busy man. He didn't talk to Joan that day, or the next day, or the next. As a matter of fact, George Barnes thought the whole thing would blow over, that he could avoid making a mountain out of a molehill, stopping a chain reaction of disharmony in his department by just letting it alone. And he could be right. But one day, a couple of weeks later...
Joan, do you have the Alpine Service Company's monthly and warranty report file on your desk? I can't find it anywhere.
Alpine? No, I don't, Betty. It must be in the files.
I've been looking in the file for half an hour and I can't find it. It's one of your files. Are you sure you're up to date?
Yes? Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. The girls and I were talking the other day, and we figured out it would save time if the in-warranty reports were separated because, well, they have to be filed in products anyway. Here, let me show you.
All I need to know is, who do you think you are? I fixed those files in the first place, and let me tell you, Mr. Barnes is going to hear about this. But, Mr. Barnes, she's changed the whole file around. I spent an hour looking for just one report. She's tearing down everything I spent years to build up. What did she say when you talked to her?
Well,
You did talk to her, didn't you?
No. Frankly, I forgot to do it. It slipped my mind. I thought of it later, and then I thought, well, it'll probably take care of itself.
But I told you she was becoming impossible. Mr. Barnes, I thought you appreciated all I've done here.
I do, Betty. I just didn't expect such resistance to new ideas.
Oh, women. Sorry. Salad dressing. Yeah, it's part of that series of films. There's The Grapevine. There's Trouble with Women. A couple of the others where managers are trying to reconcile very poorly how to deal with their employees, mostly women employees. So there's no answers here. There's nothing that can be done, according to Alcoa. So someone said, I think Thomas said you needed some disco to lighten your mood. This is in conjunction with the toe tapping tournament. This is from the film Magnificent Major, and it is a disco song about burning books. So here it is. Books are for burning.
What, may I ask, is a dear little cupcake like you doing with nasty old school books? My dear child, we haven't had school or books in ages.
No school? Really?
Why don't you get rid of that school book? You can drop them in here.
It'll get all burned up in there.
Well, of course it will, dear child. And so it should. Books tamper with man's basic, natural ignorance. Now, what could be worse than that?
But I can't burn this book. It's school property.
Nonsense! Apple sugar. You just need to get into the mood.
Books are not where it's at, teaching you how to spell cat. I know you'd rather play, so why don't you throw all your books away? Books are made for burning, the fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
1, 3, 5, 9, throw them in, the fire's fine.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
2, 4, 6, 8, time to incinerate.
Books will not make you wise, and reading's bad for your eyes. I am sure you agree, so why don't you give all your books to me? Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
This one here is very good about a man named Robin Hood.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
No, I never liked Tom Sawyer. I won't be a book destroyer.
Books can only confuse, teaching you things you can't use. You should listen to me. Burning your books will set your mind free.
I love that song. The more I hear it, the better it gets. It lost out to Acid, I think, in the tournament. I have to look at the bracket and see. I don't have it handy. Anyways, still, God, such a great song. And there's other good songs in there, too. And that was Tisha Campbell from Martin. And I can't confirm if that was Studio 54 or not. Somebody mentioned that, and I was trying to see if I could see interior photos of Studio 54, and I could not. But what I can confirm is that we heard one great song, and it's time to hear another one. This one is a cover of Shake Hands with Danger. Enjoy.
I can check that gear in a minute, so don't touch anything, okay? Get down from there! Now! Hey! Turn it over!
What if it bumped that control by accident? You'd be mincemeat by now. What have I told you? You don't work on equipment when the engine's running.
Well, I told him not to touch anything. All right, I guess I wasn't thinking.
You weren't thinking? You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here. Shake hands with Danger.
Shake hands with danger. Meet a man you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety. Now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on a dozier with my mechanic's pride. Said, you can keep it running, friend, while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. Although I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal are what made me Three-Fingered Joe. I've seen mechanics burning, and I've seen them take a fall, just to save themselves a minute. I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with and some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Finger Joe.
Toys. They're often the first friend a child has. Sometimes his best friends. As he grows, toys help expand his imagination, educate, amuse, and provide a richer childhood. And because toys are a basic part of a child's life, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission sets standards to make toys safe and bans those that are hazardous. But all toys aren't as safe as we like to think. A toy that is just right for a 10-year-old may be dangerous for a 5-year-old. Even an infant's toy that can break into sharp pieces can cause tragedy. For more information on toy safety, write Toys, Washington, D.C. 20207, or phone toll-free 800-638-2666.
Here are the toys I promised.
Thanks a million, Louie, for contributing to our toy drive.
Glad to. Help clean out the closets.
The kids will really appreciate this.
My pleasure.
Say, I don't think we can use this one. The edges are too sharp.
Huh.
Well, better not take this one either. Look at that point. The squeeze toy. That little part can be swallowed. Too loud. Could hurt little ears. Uh-oh, is this lead paint?
I don't know.
Sorry, Louie, you can't be too careful with toys. Next time, make sure they're all safe before you buy them.
For further information, write or phone toll-free the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Dive. Let's keep that stick underneath the water.
Make it a worthwhile summer. If you are 17 or older, you could qualify to attend an American Red Cross aquatic school and earn an instructor's rating in first aid, small craft, or water safety. How will you feel after 10 days of aquatic school?
Exhausted.
For more information, write Water Safety, American National Red Cross, Washington, D.C.
All right, do you feel safe now? Does everybody feel okay? Thanks for tuning in today. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to play Books Are for Burning again. It's such a great song. And, I might bust out some of the other films in that series. Again, I don't think the songs are as good, but they're still interesting curiosities. So, check it out. Maybe in June we'll start doing that. Anyways, thanks again for tuning in. As always, you can buy us some coffee to reward us or punish us for what we did to you today. You can buy DVDs at avgeeks, and you can tell the world that you like us by hitting like or subscribe or all those things that you do. Somehow those numbers add up somewhere in a giant computer that is run by Satan, and somehow it will guarantee that either that we're entering hell or entering heaven. I'm not sure how that all works. It was in the terms of service, and so I didn't really get to that. But as always, it's great to see you. Please rewind and love each other. And we will see you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Everybody take care.